Alrighty, joining me now is an amateur featherweight fighter who takes on Seth Conor for the vacant featherweight title at Prospect Fighting Championship 6 on March 18th in London, Ontario. Please welcome Shane Monaghan to the program for the very first time. Shane, how's it going?
All good, Nick. Thanks for having me on the show. Much appreciated.
Absolutely, really appreciate you taking the time and you being here. Now, first off, how did you actually make your way into mixed martial arts and become an MMA fighter?
I guess back in the day, I would have watched UFC. This kind of gives away my age. I think I was watching maybe the Tito Ortiz, Ken Shamrock era around UFC 140. We start watching it then. I'd be just around the house, and my dad would call me. He said, "This the crazy fighting is on." So we'd be just used to watching boxing, and he'd see this on the TV, and he'd call me down, and we'd watch, and we think this stuff is crazy. So I was a fan ever since. Watched it all the way up through teens and into early 20s, and I kind of always knew that if you wanted to be a fighter, you kind of have to dedicate most of your life to training and whatnot. So I didn't have the time to do that at the time. Then I moved over to Canada and got a job, and then I had some free time. Was actually just a little bit out of shape, so I just decided to go back into the gym and lose some weight. And then all of a sudden, I start getting pretty decent at the kickboxing, start taking up grappling, and then within maybe the first 3 months, I had my first kickboxing fight, and it all just took off from there.
When was this exactly? Now, I know you said that you've been watching MMA for a long time, but you had your first amateur fight, according to Topology, in about April or May of 2015. So it hasn't been too long. I mean, less than 2 years.
Yeah.
How long did you train before actually taking your first fight?
I think I was training at least, I think 6 months, give or take. And then I had my first MMA fight, as you said. It was actually May 10th of 2015 in Sarnia. And then it all kicked off from there. And I think Tapology is kind of wrong with the record right now. Right now I'm sitting at 7-2. So I don't know what Tapology says. I think it's a little bit behind.
Yeah, Tapology says, let's see here. They have you sitting at 4-2, so they're missing 3 fights.
Yeah, they're missing a lot. So I was busy for that year and a half of since I started. So yeah, we've racked up some good wins.
Now, how did an Irishman like yourself find his way over to Canada?
Yeah, that's a crazy story. So yeah, when I guess back at home in 2008, we had the recession, and I was working at the time, and then jobs were starting to dry up, so I decided to go back to college and or university, and I took my mechanical engineering degree there. And then when I qualified, things were still bad, so it was either stay and struggle or go to a different country and try and make it from there. So that's what I did. I hit Toronto first. I was there for 6 months, and then I got a job in Windsor and made my way down to Windsor.
Why Canada? I mean, it's a great country to live in. It's the best country in the world, but what went into that thought process and decision making?
It was pretty simple. My sister already lived over here, so it was a home base to start with, and yeah, it was easy. It was a no-brainer.
Gotcha. Now, in your last fight, you picked up the PFC bantamweight title, or at least one of your last fights. Of course, Topology, as you said, is missing 3 of them. So, in one of your last fights, I believe it was the last, you picked up the PFC bantamweight title, and that was your first bantamweight fight, correct?
No, that was my second bantamweight. My first bantamweight title was in September of last year. That was for the Future Combat Stars bantamweight title, and yeah, then I had my second bantamweight title at in December at Prospect.
Okay, so has it been? Did you have a fight in between, or has it
Yeah,
been bantamweight?
so I had in September. September I had my bantamweight, and then I went back up to featherweight in November. And then I was back down to bantamweight in December. So I had a busy back end of 2016.
So you're moving back and forth quite a bit. You started out as a featherweight, then went down to bantamweight, went back up now, and then went back down. Now you're going back up.
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to go back and forth for your entire career? Do you see yourself, making a name for yourself at bantamweight and at featherweight? Are you going to eventually pick one and stick with it? What's the plan there?
Well, I started off at featherweight. It was like a more natural weight for me. I weighed a lot. When I started training, I think I weighed 195 pounds. So I was completely oversized. So I started to get down towards the 145 weight limit, and that was kind of a natural walk around weight. And then I figured, well, I'm doing okay at featherweight. I think I can make the cut down to 135. And obviously, if I was to go pro, 135 would be my weight class. So I said I'd give it a go, and obviously you can see the results have been quite good at bantamweight and at featherweight. So anyone can do one weight. I can do two.
And it makes sense. I mean, your fellow Irishman Conor McGregor does it, so can you.
Yeah. We're following trends. It must be an Irish thing.
Exactly. Why are you going? Why is your next fight at featherweight? Again, is this just a situation where, hey, I could get the fight at featherweight? Nothing was available at bantamweight. Was that the situation, or do you feel?
No, there was another situation. The Ontario Amateur Commission at the start of this year, they did away with day before weigh-ins. So now we have to do same day weigh-ins,
okay.
Just like the IMAF, I guess. So they're following that model, I guess. So same day weigh-ins. There's no way I'd be able to walk in at 135 and be healthy. So I can just walk in at my normal walk-in weight, which is 145. And that's the reason why we're back to featherweight.
And did you say that will be for all amateur fights in Ontario?
All amateur fights in Ontario now under the AAMO or whatever sanctioned body it's called. Everything will be same day weigh-ins.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you might be at featherweight for quite some time until you maybe start fighting outside of Ontario. Yeah,
the next time I see bantamweight, probably pro or outside of the province.
Gotcha. Speaking of pro, you're still bantamweight. You're amateur. You're 7-2. Do you have plans to turn pro? If so, when?
Yeah, 100%. I'm just going to get this fight out of the way and see what way the land lies after this fight. See what's left in Ontario anyway. There's other provinces that you could go out to, maybe Alberta, and see what's out there. Maybe take on one of their champions, and then maybe talk about going pro. But right now, we'll focus on the fight ahead.
Nice. Now, it sounds like Prospect FC will be doing a tournament for the bantamweight title, which you currently hold or you won. Are you disappointed that it doesn't look like you'll be able to keep both belts?
Not really. So there's a 4-man tournament going on there. 3 of the guys were offered to fight me back in December, and they said no. And the other guy that's in the bracket, I just beat him 2 months previous. So really, they can say what they want, but they know who the real champion is.
That sounds like the words of Conor McGregor, who obviously his featherweight title was taken.
Yeah. Well, they haven't taken it yet, and I'll be walking to the cage March 18th with that belt, and I'll be looking to get the featherweight strap too.
Okay, so you will have an opportunity to have the both belts and say, I'm 2-division champion, that's correct?
100%.
Nice. As an Irishman, this fight is on March 18th. Is it cool at all to you to be fighting the day after St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah, it's nice. It's, it has the whole St. Patrick's Day theme to it. I fought last year the day after St. Patrick's Day too, so it's kind of becoming a ritual for me now. I get lots of people ripping on me saying, "Oh, you'll be too drunk to fight the day after." And, it is what it is. It's fun. It's all good.
Are you disappointed at all just because you really won't, be able to have that great of a time on the 17th because you'll have the fight the next day?
You know what? I'm not much of a drinker, so I'm not much of a partier, so it doesn't really make a difference. I like to go out and get around Windsor and kind of see everyone celebrating my day. But you know what? It is what it is. I'll see it, and I'll be fighting the next day, and that's it.
Fair enough. How do you think you match up against Seth Connor? What do you know about him, and stylistically, how do you see this one playing out?
He just looks like a solid grappler to me. I've seen him fight before. It is what it is. He's only going to come into this fight with grappling, and that's what I'm going to expose. It's a predictable fight. He just wants to get me to the ground and work his magic on the ground, but obviously that's not going to be able to happen. His striking, it's sloppy. So I feel this is going to be a second round finish again for me.
Now, I don't know how much spare time you have. You, of course, have your job, you have fighting, you have other things. But if you do get some spare time, is there anything in particular you like to do? Do you have any hobbies outside of fighting?
Not really. It's like last year was such a hectic year. I had maybe I did I have maybe nine scheduled fights. It was working out that I had a fight every month and a half. So really, last year was a wipeout as of hobbies for me. This year, hopefully, it's a little bit less action packed, and I can get to do some things. I like to go fishing and just chill and just be a normal human being instead of being at the gym 24/7. You know.
Nice. How have you managed to stay so active, especially as you said last year, having so many fights? I mean, Canada is an interesting. The Canadian MMA scene is very interesting right now because you see so many complaints from fighters of not being able to get fights, shaded promotions, yada yada yada. Yet you're here getting tons and tons of fights. How have you been able to do that?
I think what you were speaking to was more so for the pros. For the amateurs, we have so many different promotions. There's off the top of my head, I can think of maybe five different active amateur promotions, and they're running consecutively every 2 months, I guess. So there's no problem getting fights in Ontario at amateur, but I know for the pros, it's a hell of a different story for them, and it's unfortunate. But hopefully, there's been a change of commissioner, and hopefully they can move forward and get in a few more pro shows in Ontario just to keep our pro fighters busy.
So keeping that in mind, are you worried at all that when you do eventually turn pro, whether that's later this year, next year, whenever, that I mean you're not going to have many fights?
Um, Probably not many fights in Ontario, but there's plenty of other places to fight. Like you got like Hard Knocks out in Alberta. You got plenty of places in the States. A couple of our pro fighters from the gym fight in Michigan, so it's just across the border. So it's not much of a big deal.
What do you do to make a living?
I'm an engineer.
Okay, so is that? I mean, would if you get the chance, whenever this may happen, to fight MMA full time, is that the route you would take?
No, I'll always have my job, but the
Why is that?
MMA would be definitely second. Um, it's always good to have it. You're not going to make a whole lot of unless you get high level, very, very, very high level. And I'm kind of a little bit older than the rest of the guys right now, so I know I'm not going to go crazy, crazy far in the pro leagues. But yeah, I'll always have my job.
How old are you? Because I
I'm
know topology doesn't actually say.
I'm 31,
Okay, so you got into this
so I got
fairly
into it
late.
very,
Yeah.
very late. So you
Why
know.
is that? Is that just how everything played out, or?
So just how everything played out, like I said at the start of the interview, like I knew that you got to have a lot of time to dedicate to training, and I didn't have that time growing up. I guess it was like college and university, and a lot of other stuff had to come first. And now that I'm settled, that I can apply a lot of time to what I need to do.
So is it fair to say that this is almost a little more than this, but at the end of the day, it's mostly just for fun, while you're
Um, it's just I wouldn't say it's fun. I wouldn't say it's a hobby. It's just it's competition. It's competition at the end of the day, and it's all about getting better. Like the reason why I fight so often was just to get better every time I didn't feel comfortable in the cage, and now I feel very, very comfortable in there. It's nice to be in there. It wasn't nice at the start, but now I feel comfortable in there. It's a more dangerous person when I'm in there.
now having yet to turn pro at the age of 31. Do you? I mean, being realistic about things, do you think you will make it to the UFC ever?
Um, who's to say? Like crazy things can happen. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. There's a lot more talented guys that are in front of me, but we'll see. All we can do is keep training and keep improving and keep getting better and being a better version of myself every time I make that walk. So and that's all I'm gonna do.
Well, Shane, you're making the walk for the next time, March 18th in London, Ontario, PFC 6 for the featherweight title against Seth Conor. How do you think you get the job done? If you have to make a prediction, round and I mean, do you finish him? Do you decision him? How do you see this one
Oh,
playing out?
no, this isn't going to decision. I feel he'll panic in the second round, and I'll catch him either with a strike or a submission on a sloppy shot, and I'm sure he'll be able to hear this, and I'm not giving any game plans away. I'm telling him exactly what's going to happen, and he'll panic, he'll shoot, and I'll either catch him with some strikes or I'll submit him, and that'll be it.
Awesome, Shane. Really appreciate the time this afternoon. Before I let you go, let my audience know where they can check you out on social media. And if there's anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to, Now's your time.
You just check me out. You can check my Facebook as Shane Monaghan. Just add me. Same with my Twitter. Add me there too. Just thanks to everyone at the gym. Thanks to my MTC family and all my sponsors, Boston Pizza, Takedown Distribution. Yeah, and thanks for having me on the show. It's great.